what you do for your vocal mix obviously depends on the genre and the style of the vocal sound that you want. So this track is a very natural sounding track. I want the vocal to sound natural. I don't want to slam it through compressors and make it sound huge and crazy. And if you've got that sort of track, obviously feel free to maybe ramp up the compression more than I'm going to do and do different things. But this is what I would do to make quite a natural sounding vocal for a natural sounding kind of acoustic crossover track. So the first thing I do, I don't know what other companies do this sort of plugin. I've got the Waves bundle, and I use this plugin called the Vocal Rider. And now, does everyone know what compression is? I'm sure you all do by now. So obviously, you've got your waveform compressions just literally squashing the top downwards to squash out the dynamics. This is literally what it says on the tin. It's a vocal rider. It's just turning it up and down rather than squashing and creating that squashing sound. And so this particular vocal has some really quiet parts, some quite big parts. So
I don't mind the rain with you, colors entwined, every pale shade of blue.
Like the pale shade of blue drops off quite a bit there, and then like for
under the water, it's over my head.
And then those notes are a bit bigger. So when I get to compression, I want the compression to be kind of touching everything a little bit in the same sort of, a little bit of gain reduction and everything. But the issue is, if I just went straight to the compressor now, for the compressor to be compressing these really quiet bits, I would have to really slam the threshold of that compressor. And then for these big bits, it would be too compressed sounding. So I use this Vocal Rider plugin to even it out in a natural way before I get to compression. And you set a range on how much louder and how much quieter you will allow it to be. I'm going to put this different speed here, fast and slow.
They don't need to know this.
So let's go to that line, for example.
Under the water.
Let's get a bit more there.
Under the water, it's over my head. Under the water, it's over my head. Breathing is easier with you instead.
So you see, when it gets to the instead, it's riding the fader up to where my maximum point.
Breathing is easy.
But it's ducking it on the bigger notes. But it's not compressing it. It's not creating that sound of compression. It's not squashing it. It's literally like someone's just there with a fader turning it up and down. So it's much more natural sounding than using a compressor.
Under the water,
and then when I've got,
easier with you instead.
Then when I get to the actual compression, I'm hoping this with you instead part will still be touching the compression a little bit. We'll see. But that's the aim, because if you've got a really quiet section, it just might not be touching the compressor at all, and you're not getting that kind of more squashed sound that maybe you want just a little bit. And then you've got these big notes, and it's just too squashed. I use this a lot with the studio I worked at for 5 years. It was a place called Acapella Studio. It was a converted chapel, so it was a lot of classical music we recorded there. And opera singers are just mental in terms of dynamics. So they can be super, super gentle. All of a sudden, they just throw in sound at you, and a compressor just does not react very well to an opera singer's voice, because the range and the dynamics is just too much. So that's when I first found out about this, and this was much more natural than using a compressor. But for these sort of tracks I'm working on now, I use this. Next, I'm just going to go for some compression. I'm not going to compress things too much. I'm not going to get into too much detail of what the settings are on a compressor, but I'm just going to choose a ratio of about 3 to 1. Attack and release are important. I've got this kind of set to my default kind of vocal compression settings. So yeah, these are my attack and release settings. Obviously, you might have to adjust based on how much attack there is in the vocal performance itself, but this is what I have. In terms of gain reduction now,
won't even notice, 'cause you know and I know I've never been one to dance in a storm. But I don't mind the rain with you, colors entwined, every pale shade of blue. I don't mind the rain with you.
Check this big note.
'Cause under the water it's over my head. Breathing is easier with you instead.
So I don't want the gain reduction to go beyond -10 really. This ratio here, it's not too intense. You could, like, if you're working with a rock vocal or something like that, or something you just want to sound much bigger, a dance vocal, something like that, you might want to ramp this up a bit more, maybe 5:1, and it'll give you more compression really. More of the signal is compressed, whereas less of the signal is compressed here. But the amount it's being compressed by is the gain reduction. So I don't really want this to go over -10 dB of gain reduction on my biggest part, because you'll start noticing it quite a bit there. It's surprising how important attack and release is. If you want to hear what's going on with the compressor, let's just whack it all the way up, and then you can really hear what the attack and release is doing.
Under the water, it's over my...
I want, obviously, the compressor to be kicking in as soon as possible, because I want it to be flat, but not too quick that the attack sounds noticeably compressed. So I know it's not a clear explanation, I guess, but I don't want like a sharp attack on a vocal to be compressed straight away, because it does sound, you notice the compression more than if it just waited a little bit until the compressor started evening things out. So like,
under the water, it's over my head.
If I put this on a really fast attack,
under the water,
it's going to distort.
It's over my head.
The faster it is, it's going to, if I make it too fast, it'll sound more unnatural, more obviously compressed. If I make it too slow, it's not going to be actually affecting things in time. So it's a difficult one to get right, and it is just something you need to use your ears. I recommend just slamming the ratio and the threshold to be able to hear the attack and release very clearly.
Under the water, it's over my head. Breathing is easier with you instead. So I don't mind the rain. With you. Under the water, it's over my head. Breathing is easier with you instead.
If you've got like a big, intense rock vocal, something like that, you might find that you need a faster attack, because the transients can just explode through that compressor and sound really aggressive. I've seen times when I've used a limiter to really just shave off those transients if they do pass through the compressor too aggressively. This one is fairly easy because she's not singing with too much attack, so I don't have to be too concerned. But yeah, these are the settings I've got. You can hear the attack and release better if you just put the compression on full and focus on those, and then put it all back down.
Under the water, it's over my head. Breathing is easier with you instead.
Like, maybe it feels different, but I don't feel like I'm hearing obvious artifacts of compression when I'm hearing that, but you can see that it is compressed. So that's what I'm going for. The one before it is raise those quiet bits naturally, so that the compressor's always just kind of touching things a bit and evening things out.
Under the water, it's over my head. Breathing is easier with you instead. So I don't mind the rain.
I'll just jump to what I'm going to do at the very end now, because another thing I would consider at this point is, if there's still some lines or words that are sung quite quietly, rather than thinking, oh, I'm going to slam more compression on it, if I'm happy with the compression overall, the final step of what I'm going to do is I'm going to chuck some automation on, and I'm going to go through and automate everything to exactly how I want it to be and get into that much detail with it. I know it takes a lot of time, but I'd rather automate it then than hear more artifacts of compression rather than destroying it with the compressor. I do sometimes at this stage now, I'll sometimes use 2 compressors, and the reason for that is attack and release. I might put, like, if I do have that kind of strong, aggressive vocal with quite a sharp attack on it, I might put another compressor on that has quicker attack and release settings with a lower ratio. So it's doing less compression, but it's just grabbing those transients that pop through the first compressor, and I'm not pushing the first compressor too hard. I don't feel at this point that I'm going to need it for this vocal, so I'm not going to do it yet. It's something I would decide later if I'm finding that those transients are just popping through too aggressively. So yeah, using 2 compressors next to each other, if you know why you're doing it, it's usually for different attack and release settings and different settings, catching different parts of the signal, rather than just trying to get the whole thing with one compressor. That is an option as well.